So moving straight to our first story, a disturbing video was posted on Twitter showing a girl crying while bleeding from her nose. According to the recording and reports, it was gathered that the girl slept, on some hair extensions in her aunt's shop at Okere Market Road, Warri, and her aunt angrily punched her in the nose, which led to the bleeding. The sight of the crying girl, the crying and bleeding child, drew attention from passers-by who came to her aid.
She didn't stay with you, man.
I said I just back. The girl was sleeping on the chair. Next thing, and
oh my God.
I didn't want to arrest.
And now taking some comments, Clinton says, this stuff is not talked about enough. God help me, I want to raise awareness for house help molestation, and child abuse. And Erudite says, don't jump into conclusion. You that have siblings at times, they get on your nerves. Kids and teens nowadays are stubborn, no respect for morals. For someone to beat her like that, she has been doing something wrong for a long time. Queensland girl would have been accused if we not see the video. And Josephine replied the last commenter saying, one blow made someone bleed that much, and you think it could be her stubbornness. So Samson Obonali, what do you have to say about this?
I don't find it funny.
The guy is a joke.
The fact that Erudite or whatever his name was,
a huge joke,
was saying that the child was stubborn, that was why she was beaten up that way. I think there's a disconnect. Like he's lost touch with reality or lost touch with his humanity. Because why would you say that a child's stubbornness would warrant that kind of beating? Look at how that child was bleeding.
She doesn't even look like she's up to 10.
It's just that in Nigeria, the child rights law, which law even works in this country, except it's maybe a rich man fighting at work. We have a child rights law, for crying out loud, that should protect these children. So the fact that the child is not yours doesn't give you the right to treat her that way. You're even her aunt. You're supposed to protect her. Really, I don't know.
It's ridiculous, really. You know, that nose was broken. You see that in sports like boxing, not physically. When you say you beat a child, what sort of beating is that? Apparently, I don't want to believe that was a slap. That was a punch.
She punched the child.
And what sort of, punishment can you mete out to a child like that?
So they're saying the child was stubborn. If someone like Anthony Joshua was stubborn enough to sleep on the hair, would she punch Anthony Joshua? Because really, we try to exercise powers in places where we feel like we're stronger. Just like men who beat their wives because they feel that they're stronger than the women. If you were married to a boxer, would you try that?
Exactly.
Or if the child was someone who was able to beat you up, would you try that? These are questions we need to answer.
It's ridiculous. This is child abuse. You can't paint it anyway. There are no gray areas to this. Child abuse, it's assault. Unfortunately, the child, seemingly doesn't have a legal representative or the legal backing to push for this. It's one thing to beat a child with probably, cane or belt,
which is wrong in itself.
It's another thing to punch a child. I don't think that child is up to 10. The fact that she punched the child is physical assault, whatever name you want to call it, domestic violence, whatever it is you want to call it, that is assault, and she should be charged for it. Unfortunately, the child may not get that legal justice that she deserves. I hope the child is fine. For a child to bleed profusely like that from the nose,
probably might be in the village or something.
Exactly, or probably an orphan who is living with her aunt and all that. You know the way these stories are sometimes. I hope that the child gets the necessary medical care, because for a little child to bleed profusely like that from the nose, it wasn't just a drip. It continued flowing. It shows you that, the nose is broken.
And it's probably not the first time she's doing that to the child.
So the bridge of the nose, the child probably have difficulties breathing. There's a whole lot of medical perspective to it without trying to, exaggerate. But that child needs proper medical care. And I really hope that there are people who can, take up this case and ensure that she gets the justice she deserves.
Oh, well, still on the children, a man sent a group of children begging by the roadside a message to deliver to their parents. Let's see the video and hear for ourselves.
Compalo. Mona tell say make them again. Make them not born again. Does he for this stuff I want addition does carry the newborn baby, may reach 6 months, they go put her for street. Tell mommy not the again, we don't time for this offer.
Yeah, that's how it is.
You dey hear me? You dey laugh. Go ask. Tell your mommy say this also don't tell her. Say mommy not if you not reach us.
And Ernest says, beggars too many, reach Edo State, you go hail. Truth Comrade says, people when no get house, you say palo. And now Sugar Mommy says, this is the best. If people stop giving them, they would stop begging. Now in the video, you know, we had the guy telling the children to go home and tell their parents to stop, you know, giving birth. You know, because they're suffering a lot. You know, they're on the streets begging. They would give birth and then just throw them out to the streets. You know. So what do you have to say about this?
Apparently, I mean, why have a child when you can't even adequately take care of the child? Before the process of, you know, bringing a child into the world, there should be adequate preparations in terms of, you know, how you want to train the child, how you want to care for the child, feeding inclusive, clothing inclusive, shelter and all of that. So you don't just have children. And it's quite unfortunate that these set of people, more often than not, you see them having lots of children. I mean, you go on the streets of Lagos or wherever you are, you probably see a woman with 4 kids, one at the back, and you're trying to figure out the age difference, you know, between the children. Probably 1 year and thereabouts. It's not even up to 2 sometimes, based on what you can see in terms of physical appearance. So there's a place of, you know, helping people like this, but the parents also need to, you know, hold themselves accountable. If you know the strength you have financially is to take care of just 2 children, have those 2 children, the more blessed you are, you can have more kids. But when you know you can barely even cater for a child and you have 4, it's ridiculous that you're now, you know, throwing those kids out there to beg for alms just for, you know, the family to live or survive. Now the child is again, it's another form of child abuse that we do not talk about enough, because the child is abused, exposed rather to physical, you know, dangers. You have the issue of sexual assaults as well as a possibility. If you know, for the girl child especially, there's also the place of the child being, you know, mentally or even psychologically, you know, exposed to in all of these. So
and you're being
I
kept
think
out of school as well.
Out of school, there's a whole lot to it. You know, it has a multi-layers. I really hope that we parents, you know, become more accountable and responsible in how they bring children to the world. Now, I would, you know, again, that those would say, oh, maybe it was extreme to tell them, go back and tell your parents this. If you want to help and just move on. But again, the message has to be passed that parents can't just keep producing children or bringing children to the world without adequate plans to take care of them. The world is large enough in terms of numbers, and we have so many people below the poverty line.
Well, I think it's about time we readdressed or revisited this issue of procreation, the motive behind procreation. So, yes, gone are those days where our parents just wanted to have, like, they say you want to give birth to children so that when they've retired, the children can take care of them, and then so they give birth to retirement benefits or retirement plan. Gone are those days. These days, people now plan. They're intentional about it. So those days, our parents, you know, thought that the minimum of 4, you know, you have to have like 6, 7, 12, a football team and all of that. But now, the mentality is changing. People are now more enlightened that look at the economic situation in Nigeria. How much is cooking gas? Look at the cost of transportation and the fuel scarcity and all of that. You have to begin to factor all these things in. So you don't just want to throw children out there who you cannot cater to, children who you cannot educate, children who you can't feed properly, and then they're just out there. And the funniest thing is, you know, we've had this Almajiri system with us, right, for a very long time. But it looks like it's not just about the Almajiri system now. We now have corporate beggars. Not just about the children now. We now have some adults who also beg in a way that, oh, I need 15 naira to balance my transport fare and all of that. Those same people would have several children. So they don't even have plan for their own selves. They can't feed themselves properly, and then they are procreating, having several children who they cannot cater to. So we have to begin to reanalyze, revisit, and so I don't blame countries like China, India, you know, Canada had it to a point where they are now underpopulated, so they're not looking for people to now come in. I know that's the extreme, but sometimes we need to take extreme, you know, actions, decisions. The president there was a time the president was saying they wanted to put a benchmark to the number of children that parents give, but of course, how effective would that be in a country like Nigeria?
But it's just ridiculous. I really hope that, you know, people who are not up to that standard they want to be in life in terms of standard of living.
Concluding the story,
Yep.
So the video we just saw might be funny, but this guy has said the truth. You know, people need to start deliberately controlling their birth rates and be sure that they can adequately, you know, take care of them. As a married person, looking at your financial capacity, you should be able to say how many children, you know, you can comfortably take care of, even if it's only one. You understand? And this is why I am of the opinion that people should not get married broke. You know, before getting married, ensure you can comfortably take care of yourself, you know, your partner and child, you know, and by comfortably, I mean the provision of basic necessities like food, shelter, clothing, and education, so that you don't constitute a nuisance by giving birth to children you can't take care of, and at the end of the day, subjecting them to poverty, suffering, thuggery, among others. Decide wisely. And it's a wrap on entertainment on social media buzz. I still remain Chioma Amariwula. Back to you, Samson and Omobolan.
Oh, well, thank you, Chioma. Although I have to butt in there. The fact that he said that people should not get married broke. Anything can happen. You can get married and something just happens. You lose your job and all of that. But it's
life happens. As
life happens. But in the end, you have to have plans. So I understand where you're coming from. Okay, let's wrap it up with a quote of the day. Lolly Daskal says, when you stop chasing the wrong things, you give the right things a chance to catch you. So I'm going to tie that to this 24-hour thing. We all have 24 hours. So, but some people would say, oh, I'm too busy, I don't have time. Maybe you need to check your schedule. There are some things that are taking your time that shouldn't be. When you take out those unnecessary things, you see that you have more time, focus to the important things, and then you're able to achieve your goals. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, you're on point.
Apt. Pinpoint.
All right, we'll wrap it up on that note. Thank you so much for being a part of iBrand Daybreak. My name is Omobolanle Adeshi. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.
And I am Chioma Amariwula. Do enjoy the rest of the day.
Do have a great day. I'm Samson Olede.